kinds of things today. But guess what? The German embassy here, the man who actually lived in this building for a while, had a dog called Gyro. And he died. Electrocuted accidentally, yeah? And guess what? We buried him right here. Look here. Little grave for a dog right in the centre of London. And that's the only one, by the way. Look, Gyro the dog. So she did serve in the Prime Minister. You want to know where the Christmas lights are? You know, the ones that people come to see in London.
This is the Gentleman's
Now,
Club.
that thing up there, that's New Zealand House, rather. Just quite frankly, here's a song. We've got another one called the Grand Old Duke of York. Had 10. The Queen Mother, not the current Queen, the mother of our current Queen, okay? And she died in March 2002. She was actually 101 and a half years of age. We rounded off to 102 there. It sits in the genes because, as you probably know, the Queen in April, her real birthday, 21st of April, she will be 94 years of age. Her husband, Prince Philip, in June, will be 99. Yeah. Executed in this country, and this is by people, a group of people who rebelled against the almighty power, trial for treason, and then he was beheaded at the Horse Guards on the other side there, Banqueting House, at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, 30th of January 1649. And we had a republic for 11 years, no monarchy. His last night was spent inside St James's Palace, and it was almost as cold as it was now. He had to wear 3 shirts to keep him warm because he didn't want to appear afraid when he got to the people down there. And he walked from here that way, because it wasn't a road and park like you see today, it was just a real forest, and walked through to the palace over there where he was beheaded. Yeah. That period we had no Christmas, no pubs, no theatres, boring. Yeah. So Charles II, his son, had escaped to France to go in exile there, and when Cromwell died in 1658, they asked Charles II to come back, and in 1660 he became king. But it was now what we call a constitutional monarchy. Charles I, it was absolute monarchy. He was boss. But with the constitutional monarchy, that meant the monarch had power, but also a government. And that's what we have today. The Queen, of course, today just smiles and signs letters, right? But in the olden days, the monarch still had power, okay? This palace, though, was actually built by Henry VIII for his second wife, Anne Boleyn. Ever heard of her? Well, she lost her head in the Tower of London. She never saw it completed, yeah. Henry VIII had 6 wives. Greedy. Basically tried to get a son as the heir to the following when he passed away. And so Anne Boleyn, Catherine Howard, 2 wives of Henry VIII, were beheaded inside the Tower of London. If there's one building you should visit before you leave London, it is the Tower of London. That's on the end of the bus there, yeah? Don't...
Bandayı duydun mu?
Şeyi var, adam var, anlada geliyor.
Tabii.
Hiç görmediğimiz, bilmediğimiz yerler.
Yo, yerleri bilirik ama binaları şeyleri.
Binaların tarihçelerini, şeylerini, hep heykelleri gösterir. Kraliçenin annesinin heykeli, hepsinin var. Babasının.
Gördün mü ben? Ama hiç çiçek yoktu.
Yok,
Daha açmadı
Mart'ta
da.
açacak. Laleler.
Look at things can happen. Now, the building frontage you see today is actually modified by Sir Aston Webb in 1913. But the original buildings were done by John Nash and then Edward Blore. So you see there by the trees over there on the left, more darker stone colouring. That's more of the older style buildings. That's where we have the Royal Mews and the Queen's Gallery. Mews, I'm afraid, is closed to the end of the month, but that's where the Queen's horses and carriages. They're not allowed to talk, drink, smoke, or eat, or anything like that. No, stand dead still. They're there guarding, and they used to be outside here. But due to security reasons, they've moved them back inside the palaces. So although you couldn't go past the chain here, it was pretty close to the picture guard. Do you know, round the other side of St James's Palace, until 2.5 years ago, you could literally stand next to a soldier and get your picture taken. But that is also stopped.
black roses in my garden, yes. Black roses growing in my garden. Black roses in my garden. Black roses growing in my garden. To keep us carried, you have to work for me.
Do have a recorded audio machine, a very boring commentary down the river. 30 miles ahead of us, the North Sea, and the tide, it comes into London and then it goes back out. And at the moment the tide is dropping, the tide is leaving London, pushing the boat on. If you look away to your left on the river's wall, there's a golden eagle, the Royal Air Force War Memorial. They built it for the year 2000. Built across the river and lifted very slowly. Great views at the top on a day like today. On the right, the Royal Festival Hall, a famous concert hall. Pavarotti, Frank Sinatra, they have both performed inside this building. Our Royal Festival Hall. It's a very popular part of London, the South Bank of the River. Over 3,000 years old. Made in Egypt, made in Paris. The twin is in America. New York, Central Park, the twin. Also to our left, the Savoy Hotel. The building with a green tiled roof, the London Savoy Hotel. Years ago, a residence for the royal family. Idol, Britain's Got Talent. Basically, a load of rubbish. £15 million. So expensive to live along the street. As you can imagine, I don't live along this river. Obviously, I wouldn't be standing here doing a commentary otherwise, bro. Blackfriars Bridge, opened by Queen Victoria, Blackfriars. Also a railway bridge called the Dome. You get lovely views at the top, but there's over 500 steps. Monday to... In the year 2000, they opened the bridge. You might recognise it from Harry Potter. Some of you do. Now look on the right, ladies and gentlemen, the white timber framed the Globe Theatre of William Shakespeare. From April, there are plays every single day. This time of year, they have guided tours. Bridge. There's been a bridge here for 73. The bridge before this, it's in America. Has anybody heard the story before? Is anybody listening? Yeah. And nobody knows where it is. Oh. Lake Havasu in the Arizona desert, sold to an American, and the old London Bridge is in Arizona. Now we saw lots of action in the Second World War. It's open to the public. It's a very interesting day out on board. Very, very enjoyable day out, ladies and gentlemen. Look past the ship and it's a round glass building. City Hall, the Mayor's office, the Mayor of Greater London. This is the man who's responsible for housing, transport and safety in London. A very popular man. So he's so popular, I've just forgotten his name. So that's how...
Tower'deyiz. Alıyoruz geri gemiyle bu Tower'e. Tower'da değişiyoruz. Gene gidelim Westminster'e bekledik burada. Bugün gemi kruzu yaptık ya. Bak. Şimdi Tower'dan gideceğiz Westminster'e. Oradan da artık gelelim eve. Yorulduk. Evdesiniz. Hadi.
Şimdi neredeyiz Nale?
Gemide.
Gemide. Bu gemi gene başka türlü gemi. Girdik, oturduk. Düz Westminster'a. Oradan nereye gidelim? Tamam. Özlem çikolatin nasıl? Beğendi mi Nale?
O kadar şey değil. O gemilerden de şu kiralarlarda fark ediyor.
Bezan saat kaç? 4 kalktık. Kaçta varacak?
life-saving equipment. We have life rings, we have life rafts, and we've got life jackets for all passengers. Now, in the very unlikely event of an emergency, good luck to each and every one of you. Evacuate the buildings you see on the shore. Now, they did come up with a little rhyme to help them. Ladies and gentlemen, do join in if you know it. And it goes, if the lions are drinking, then London is sinking. And if their heads are completely ducked, then London is well and truly flooded. Flooded is the correct answer. And if you look over there to your left, broken bottles. It's known in London as a traditional family day. It's all to the left on the South Bay Riviera. You got the white ship here to the right, the HQS Wellington, an old New Zealand naval ship. Just ahead of the boat, the bridge here, Waterloo Road Bridge, nicknamed the Ladies' Bridge. It was built by a 90% female workforce, whilst the men, they were out fighting for the king. Now you can hire out one of these glass capsules for £1,000. People, they get married on the London Eye. There has been over 500 weddings, and it is in the top 10 places in the world for marriage proposals. So gentlemen, if you are feeling a little bit romantic, you're thinking about popping the question while you're in London, why not take her up to the London Eye and do it there? But gentlemen, a bit of advice for you all, make sure she's going to say yes. Because if you get all the way to the top of that London Eye to 12 o'clock, you get down on one knee, you ask her to be your wife, and she says no, well, it's going to be the longest 15 minutes of your life back down to the ground with 23 people staring at you.